Okay.
Okay, everyone, welcome to Bot Camp Session 2. So in today's Bot Camp, we're going to go through how you can use online bots for data collection. And we will also go through for data extraction. Do you guys remember that there were different types of bots that existed? And in today's session, we're going to go through how you can use online bots now, not only to create chat agents, but also to gather data. Now, let's really quickly go through a little bit of an overview of what we saw last time for our data extraction. So if you guys remember correctly, we went through a little bit about what was, how we could create these chatbots. So if you remember, what we saw was that first, you would write off all of the logic of your bot. So for instance, if you want to create a political bot, you could write off what logic your bot is going to say. So maybe, for instance, when somebody maybe your bot can detect, oh, somebody just mentioned the word election. So you're going to go and send your bot out and maybe say something to that person. So first you write off all of that logic. So if you detect that somebody is saying election, the bot can come in and maybe it can say, oh, you know, maybe you should vote for this candidate. And then we also talked about, okay, so once now we have a logic, we're just going to connect our bot within social media. And in social media, you can connect it to Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, also Instagram. So there are different social media platforms that you can connect your bot to. So that was what we went through last class, and we were able to get everybody got their own chatbots working in these different for these different platforms, and it was really cool. So everybody got their chatbots working. And so today we're going to go through now how you can get your chatbots working to extract data. Does anybody have any questions related to related to what we did last class about having these bots go out and chat with people on these different social media platforms? Okay, perfect. So let's continue. So all of our code is here. You can access it. Carlos was the one that created this awesome GitHub repository, so you can download all the code and have it, access it.
Yeah, in this class we will use it. So the first step is to open that URL, and we will be getting the code from that URL and pasting the code in our text editor. So everybody access to that link because we will start with it. Okay.
Okay, let's continue. So everybody at home, access the URL of the GitHub. So you can download the code, and today we will be advancing on our bots that are going to do data collection.
Okay, so let's go to the URL.
So if you guys remember also, some things that we saw last class was first, there are different types of automated agents. Who remembers what an automated agent is? Or what is a bot? How would you define what a bot is?
That generates a response dynamically.
What, sorry?
Generates a response dynamically.
Yeah, so it's yes, exactly. So you can think about it as a script that is doing a task over the internet repetitively. So these crawler bots, go ahead, Smart. So these crawler bots are doing this repetitive task about going out and finding data for people. You also have what are, for instance, these chatbots that are maybe like each time they see somebody that is doing something, they interact.
Yeah. Well, let's start with let's enter to the Twitter link, and we will try the first code that it's the send PI. So let's copy this code and let's paste in our text editor.
So right now, what are we doing? So right now we're finishing off our BotCamp tutorial for chatbots, and we're going to use this API called TweetPea. And in the previous class, we went through another tool that was Gubshub, and now we're going to use TweetPea to see how you can create messages. So, what are we doing now? Right, today we are going to finish creating our chatbots, and after we create our chatbots, we're going to go through the data extraction. So, what are we doing today? We're going to go through what is called TweetPea. TweetPea is a library that was released that allows you to write Python code and suddenly be able to do a lot of really cool things with Twitter. So, for instance, you can create let's say that you want to figure out who's tweeting about the election. You can create simply a method that is going to be constantly listening and figuring out who's tweeting live, who's mentioning the word election in their tweet. And maybe once you see that that person is doing that, you can have your bots take an action. So, this is the TweetPea code. So if you guys notice, we have something at the top that says import. This is the TweetPea library. Now, you should have been able to install TweetPea on your machines. And then the next thing that we have are these lines in which you have to have a TweetPea account. You have to grant TweetPea access to your account through authentication so that you can access the different tweets that exist on Twitter. So this is basically you have to give TweetPea your different consumer key, your access token. Do people have this already? Who does not have their access token? So you can access that through the TweetPea library.
Well, so let's get the tokens. So in order to get it, we need to go to dev.twitter.com.
So basically right now we're learning to use the TweetPea platform, and we're trying right now to get access about what are our different keys from our account. And to access our keys, we have to access this dev.twitter.
Dev.twitter, and then go to My Apps. This link at the top. So we are now here, sign in. Log in your account, and you can create a new app. Okay, so we click on create new app, and you give some name to it.
It can actually be any random name that you want. Basically right now we're trying to generate the keys so that we are going to be able to use the TweetPea library. It does ask you to have some authentication data. So you can the name doesn't matter. You can put any name, some example, like Carlos right now just put some random text.
Mm-hmm. The URL is not necessary, so you can use anyone.
Yes. So a lot of the information that you have to input here, it can actually be a little bit random. So remember, what are we doing right now? We are trying to generate our authentication data so that we will be able to use the TweetPea library.
Okay, everybody enter some information.
Please let us know. Right now at this step, everybody try to fill out the information so that you can have your TweetPea credentials. Okay, it's actually not the TweetPea credentials. It's going to be your Twitter authentication data, so that you can collect, so that you're going to be able to access the Twitter data.
Okay, so now we will click on create your Twitter application. And create application.
So you create.
Evaluation is already taken. Wow.
Okay, so you just need another name.
Okay, because it's a unique name. Mine was so strange. Okay. Bot test
Yay.
0101. Okay, so now we need to create the keys and the tokens. The keys are given to us in this section, keys and access tokens. We click on keys, and the keys are right here. And if we need to create the token, we just scroll down, and there is this option, create my access token. So we click it. And now we have our API keys and our tokens. So the next step is to copy the API key and the API secret and paste it in the code. So we copy, in this case, API key, and we paste it in the consumer key.
So basically right now, what are we doing? We are generating our different keys through the Twitter dev, to the Twitter apps web page, so that we will be able to access the Twitter data.
And also your token, you copy all token and paste it here.
So this is just copy pasting, okay? So the different fields will be appearing on the other site, in which you will have your TweetPea token, your TweetPea URLs, so that you can easily access the data.
Okay.
So here, this is basically to be able to access. What are we doing now? We want to access the Twitter data. We want to be able to post information on Twitter. So what do? We need to give Twitter our authentication information, and this is how you generate your authentication information. Now that you have it, we are able to continue.
Okay. Well, so now that we configured the library, so now we can test it. What it is doing, it is creating a message variable. It is creating a new status in your timeline, and it is posting the status. So let's try it. So we need to open our command line tool, our terminal. We need to go to that directory in which we have that code. In this case, it's Twitter. And this is where the code is, send.py. And in order to execute it, we just type Python and send.py. If we run it, then it displays the message sent. Just to check that the code was executed, we can go to our Twitter account. To your tweets, and here is the message that was sent.
Excellent. Okay, so what happened overall? Can you go back to the code?
Yeah.
So we entered the authentication data. Then we're giving a TweetPea the authentication data that's this first line about API.TweetPea.API auth. And then from there, we're getting this object that is called API, okay? And we're going to be using that object to call out the different methods related to TweetPea. So we first create that object, and that object is going to help us connect to Twitter and be able to do a bunch of things with Twitter, okay? So now that we have the object, we want to post something. So we're going to post hello. So that object API has a method called update status, and so we just send it the message that we want, which we created here with hello. Maybe let's create another message, which maybe it's WVU is the best, or social computing class is my favorite.
Okay, the best.
Okay.
Okay. Then you can run it again, just typing Python and the name of the script.
Python, the name of the script.
And it is sent.
The message is sent, and now you can test it in real time with your Twitter account if you go there.
Not defined the library, the TweetPea. Maybe you need to install TweetPea. Do you have TweetPea installed? Yes?
Yeah, the same.
Let me see. Whatever.
So some people are having a small error.
Import TweetPea. No model name. You have no model name. Another one. 6. Yeah. The error it says something like no model name found, like the name of the model is 6 or not.
It just says name including the token that I just copied and says it's not defined.
Undefined. Well, that's weird. Well, just to avoid some common errors, I don't know exactly which one is yours. Let me check in a moment. But what we can do, for example, if we don't have installed TweetPea, that it's a common error, you can just type this pip install TweetPea, and this will install pip. If you have the 6 error, this is something common on Mac. Do you have a Mac or Windows?
No, Windows.
Yes, because it's a wrapper. Do you have Python 3 also?
No, 2.7 something.
If you type Python 3 space the name of the script, maybe it can work. Because the 6 library is a wrapper between Python 3 and Python 2. So, well, let's try that. Or search it on Google. And, well, maybe in a moment I can see your error. Okay. And the rest of the class could execute that? Okay.
Was everybody else able to execute? Excellent. Yay. Okay.
Okay, so, well, this is how to send a message using the API, but next step is how to extract information using the API.
So right now we saw another way in which we can create chatbots. So we're able to create chatbots with what we saw last class, which was Gubshup. And now we're using TweetPea to be able to create our little chatbots. Next, what we are going to work on is we're also now going to use TweetPea to extract data.
Okay, so we need to go to the stream.py file.
So all of this is in GitHub, in the GitHub library about bot courses, BotCamp from that Carlos prepared for you guys, which is great.
And we'll just copy this code and paste it in the editor. So in this case is stream. Hi. So we need also the tokens and the keys. So for from our previous code, we will copy the tokens and we will paste these tokens here. What I did is I only replaced that two lines, the number 7 and the number 8, with the same lines in our previous code. Okay. Okay.
Who was able to copy the text?
Everybody? Okay. So in this code, it's almost the same. We are creating that API variable that stores the object of TweetPea. And next step is to create a listener. This is a stream listener. It is getting all the messages that are on Twitter, and you can filter all the message in the public stream. So in this case, we are creating an object that is called myStream, and we are creating this object with TweetPea.stream. And what are the two parameters? The first one is the authentication, and the second one is a class that we previously defined here, that it's myStreamListener. So in this class, there are some methods that we need to override. The only one that is needed for extracting data, it's on stats. So in this line, we created that object, and we are sending the object to that constructor. The next step is we are filtering the information that is in the public stream of Twitter, and we are filtering the ones that contains the word good. Okay. So we are just specifying that it will be in asynchronous mode. And well, let's see how it works. So if we go to the console again, and we run it using the same Python and stream. TP notify. Maybe I didn't copy in the right way. Let me just check. Okay. Okay, I pasted in the back way. Okay, so right now, what it is doing is extracting all the tweets that contains the word good, but this is in real time. So in real time, all people that it's posting some tweets with the word good, now we are getting that information. So, well,
maybe now let's try it out with, we can also try it out with something related to the election. So we can post, for instance, maybe people that are tweeting live, Trump.
I think that a lot is doing that.
So this is all tweets?
All tweets that are happening live. Exactly. Exactly.
So in this part of the code, you can store in a file, you can store in a database, everything that you need. So for example, now we will filter the ones that contains Trump. Let's see what happens. Wow.
Oh, okay.
People so crazy writing about that. About Trump, okay. Wow. It's loner. Well, well, this is an easy way to extract information using the API. But well, right now we are using just the APIs. The next step is to use another kind of bots that are called crawlers. So
Wait, let's see.
Yeah.
Who has here? Has everyone been able to extract the data? So right now, this script is basically listening live for people that are tweeting that mention in their tweet the word Trump. You can easily change it to whatever you want to. So it can be, for instance, maybe you want Clinton, or for instance, for your projects, it could also be PTSD, let's say. So you can listen on live to whenever somebody is mentioning a certain keyword that you want, just by changing it here where it says My Stream Filter Track. So overall, again, we created this object API, which gives us access to the Twitter data. Then we have this variable, this object about My Stream Listener. My Stream Listener is going to be the object that is going to be listening off to the Twitter stream. And when it identifies something that is related to what you're stating, it's going to take an action. And so here we initiate our Twitter stream. We initiate it with our access variable so that we can, our authentication variables, so that we can grant it access. And then we simply tell it, hey, this is the word that we want you to be listening on. So in this case, we want it to be listening on whenever somebody mentions the word Trump. So this is an easy way in which you can collect data live that is happening on Twitter.
Okay. So well, next step is.
Is everybody on this step? Who?
Can you just repeat the step again
Which one?
for the data collection?
Yes. Overall, what is going on? So this is a class in which So basically, what is going on? Well, first we authenticate with Twitter, right? So we have here these first two lines about auth. They are authenticating ourselves on Twitter. We need that to be able to get access to the Twitter data. Perfect. Then line 10. What we are doing there is we're creating this object called API, in which we initiate that object with our credentials. So this way, this object is going to be the one that's going to allow us to do a lot of operations, okay? So now, once we have that object ready and we already gave it our authentication data, the next thing that we do is that we create a My Stream Listener object, okay? What does My Stream Listener do? It's going to allow us to be listening constantly to what is going on Twitter, okay? So, for instance, this object is going to be the one that's going to be listening live to what people are posting on Twitter. Next, we initiate that object with our information. So, we give it our API data. And then once we initiate that object with our API data so that we can actually grant it access, the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to tell it, okay, cool, so you're listening live for what people are tweeting about. I want you to especially focus of when people mention the word Trump in their tweets. So whenever a person mentions, for instance, Trump, I want you to do something. In this case, and then this is the class of My Streamer Listener, okay? So My Streamer Listener, Carlos has it on, so whenever it detects that somebody is mentioning the word Trump, it's going to do something. In this case, what did it set off to do? It set off to print the status that was found. So that was why you saw on the screen, for instance, you were able to see the tweet actually. So this is whenever somebody mentions the word Trump, it's going to enter into this method of your stream listener, and it's going to print the status that it found. Okay. So if somebody is mentioning, for instance, Trump, what it's going to do is it's going to print out the tweet that it found. You can also have it do other things. So for instance, maybe if you see somebody mention Trump You could also suddenly have your bot do an action. For instance, maybe you tell it, "Oh, go out and and have the bot say, 'Vote Hillary,'" let's say. So you just have to listen in on, okay, I listen in, who is mentioning the keyword that I'm interested in this case, Trump. Once I figure out that they are mentioning that particular keyword, I can take an action. In this case, the action is just print it out, but it could be something else. You could also have your bot maybe print out vote Hillary, for instance.
Well, let's
Yes,
continue.
and yes, exactly.
Okay, let's go with crawlers.
And you can use all of that information to collect. So, for instance, if you're interested in collecting data about who is tweeting something, you can use that to suddenly collect. For instance, maybe you want to collect all the data about people that are tweeting about PTSD, let's say, or Trump. And so this way you can collect all their information.
Okay, well, if we have some APIs to use, we can use it and we can get information in an easy way. But if not, we can just extract information from browsing. So if we need to browse some sites and extract that information, we need something that is called WebDriver. And there is one that is so popular that is Selenium, and it is used to extract or interact with sites. So I prepared an example. Some of you will use Reddit, so I created a really simple scrapper for Reddit. So we now can collect all the information that is in Reddit in an easy way. So let's start. First of all, let's navigate to Reddit.
So what are we going through? In the first case, we were using TweetPea to collect the data, because TweetPea offers a really nice API so that you can collect the data from the site. But what happens if you don't have a nice API so that you can collect the data? What should you do? Well, you can use web scrapers. What are web scrapers? Web scrapers are also these bots that go out and they collect data from different websites. You basically give it the website that you want and it can collect the data. And so that is the step that we're doing now. We're looking at how we can use these web scrapers.
Okay. One thing that we can do is to start manually trying to do it, just to identify what do we need. So in this case, we can extract this list that there are 25 elements. So we need to check how to extract that information. So the natural step is to check the code, just to investigate or have a clue about how to do it. So what I did here is to check how to extract this information. I just right-click and click on Inspect Element. So now I'm here in the code. So, well, if we see that code, it looks like very difficult.
Oh, do you want to change your machine? Because I think on the, or put that other screen, because I think on the YouTube you're not showing the code. So basically Carlos put inspect and
inspect
oh, here, perfect.
And code.
Okay.
Okay.
So he put inspect.
And well, we have a lot of
then this code
HTML code, and let's see that. For example, we are here, and let's check where is this text. UK government. So if we inspect this, we drill down, and this is the text. But how can we get that text? First of all, we need something to detect where is that text. We have different options. Let's go back to the presentation. One way to do that is parsing the HTML. But it's not easy to parse that kind of HTML because we have a lot of tags, we have different ways to call the same kind of tags, so it's difficult. So what other kind of method we can use? We can use CSS selectors. That it's the one that we will see in this course, and we can use XPath selectors. that there are mechanisms to find some nodes in your HTML. So what it does is that it goes to your DOM, DOM, and it finds for certain nodes in your HTML tree. So, well, let's go to CSS selectors just to understand how it works. Well, we have different kind of selectors. If we check the code of Reddit, we can find different tags, different attributes for a tag. For example, a class, for example, the tab index and href and URL, we have different attributes. So depending the attributes that a tag has, we can use different selectors. For example, this one has a class attribute. So if it has a class attribute, we can get the information of that element using the selector dot. Okay? We use the name of the class, and the selector is just a point.
So what is going on again? So as we mentioned previously, in the first example that we did, we had the API. It was really comfortable. It was really easy to use because with the API, we could say, hey, check out this for this keyword. Give us the text in this format. It was really simple. In this case, we don't have an API. So what do? We look at the website that we want, and right now we're inspecting elements to get exactly the variables that we want. So you could do it both ways. You could you could literally get the websites, maybe download them, and then maybe create your parser. Or you can look at the different variables that exist on the website and directly tell your script, you know what, I don't want everything from the Reddit site. I only want these titles, let's say. And so right now that is what Carlos is explaining. He's telling you how you can tell your website just for the parts that you might be interested in. Okay, so this way you don't have to collect all of the website, but you can focus on what you care about. And again, we are doing this because in certain websites you do not have an API that allows you to collect the data easily. So, for instance, Reddit doesn't have that friendly API as Twitter has. Okay, so that is why, and this way, through this method, you're able to collect the data from any website that you want, from any social media platform that you are interested in collecting data from.
Okay, well, there are different selectors. One, if the attribute ID is present, if class attribute is present, if any other attribute is present, there is a way also to match with the value that has assigned. If it has not any attribute, we can just call by the name of the tag. Or if it has some children, we can just use a space between the two selectors. So let's check this with an example, in this case Reddit. Let's go to the code again.
And this is really great because this way you guys can access different websites. There were a lot of projects that wanted to use Reddit, so this is awesome. Thank you, Carlos.
And there is Sublime. Sublime is the web driver that we are using. In Sublime, we have this code, reddit.time. Okay? Well, now that we are here, we will copy this code. In this case, we don't need to generate any token, any API key, because we are not using an API. So you copy that code and you paste it in your text editor.
So right now we're collecting the code to be able to gather the data from Reddit. Again, this is all in the GitHub repository so that you can just copy and paste it and it's ready to use.
Okay, what it is doing, we are creating the WebDriver object. In this case, we will use Firefox. We can use Chrome or any other browser. Even we can use a headless browser like PhantomJS, that this is a browser without user interface. Well, in this case, we will use Firefox. And next step is that we will navigate to the Reddit site, and we will start collecting data with selectors. Okay, let's see how it works. Well, I will run it, and then I will explain how it works, okay? I will run it just to check that it's working, and just any of you can have an idea of how this works. For example, I will run reddit.py. It is starting.
This is great. We're having even live demos. This is an awesome course.
Okay. Now it's opening Firefox, as we indicate in the code. It's checking the structure.
So this is all done automatically. We have Carlos there.
And it printed the information, okay? It extracted all the information that is in the page, and it printed. So let's see how it did. Okay. The first step is to open that site, okay? First step is open the browser. Second step, open the site with the driver get. Next step, it's getting all the elements that we are interested to extract. In this case, it says site, table, and thing. How did we discover that? Well, let's go to our browser. I have my browser here. Let's go to Reddit. And we are in the code, right? And we are exploring just one element, okay? But if you put the mouse over an element, it is highlighted. For example, if I position the mouse over this element, all the first element is highlighted. What it means? That this is the node that contains all the first row, right? So if I collapse this element, I can just put the click over the other elements, and we can see that, well, these are the elements that I need to extract, okay? The next step is to find something in common between them, okay? So what they have in common? For example, all of them has the think class, right? There are other classes, but they are different. For example, it has the ID T3, blah, 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 but it's different than this one. So the point in common here is the word think, the class think, okay? There is another one that it's in common, that it's the link one, right? But the one that everybody has in common is think, okay? So now we detected a class that can filter that information. But it's a better way if we check who is the parent, because we can filter in a better way. Why? Because if any other element on HTML is using the same class, in this case, thing, we will filter a lot of divs that are not relevant, okay? So let's try about using a selector. Okay, the way in which we can try it, it's in the console, okay? If we go to console, we have the console here in this menu on the in the web inspector. It is the tab console. We can write that well, we can write this. Document dot query selector all parentheses. We will use the selector. In this case, it's a class. What is the selector of a class? A point. Okay? So we will extract the length. How many elements match with that selector? So if we press enter, we have 37 elements, but we are looking for 25, not for 37, okay? So in this case, we need to filter more. We need to find a way to filter the other ones that are not required for us. So it's time to see who is the parent, okay? Who is the tag that is the parent? In this case, this is the tag. It has an ID. If the tag, if the element has an ID, use the ID. It's the best way to filter, using the ID, okay? So in this case, we will copy that site table. We can just check in the documentation that I provide to you what is the selector. The selector, it's that sharp symbol, and we will go back to the console. You only press the up arrow just to go to your last command that you execute. You press that pound sign, and the name. Okay. In this case, what it is doing? Well, we are using two selectors. We are using three of the selectors. One, the ID. Okay, that it's the pound. The other is the point, and the other is this one, children. Children, it's just a space between the two selectors. Okay, just a space. So in this case, we are using three of them. Okay, it's the ID selector, the children selector, and the class selector. So if we execute that, we have now the 25 that are important to us to extract. Okay. So this was the way we found in the code this selector. Okay, looking what attribute has in common all the nodes, and looking who is the parent and what is the attribute that distinguish between the others. Okay, so now in elements, now we know that we have 25 elements only. They are the only ones that we are interested to extract information. So next step, I am creating a dictionary of results, and I am using the same. Well, in this case, this is in plural. This is 5 elements. It's more than one element. Okay. The next step, I'm not searching in the entire document that it's a driver variable. It's the entire document. We are just looking for in the element, in that element, in the specific one that we are iterating. This is why I am using a for. I am getting in the element variable the current node. Okay. So on each node, I am looking for a selector. In this case, it's the title and the score. Let's check how we discovered that the selector title is indicate. So if I go to the title, that is this one, and I go to inspect there is a class that it's called title. Okay? And if I go to other one, let's see if this is a common one. Yeah, it's common. All of them are using the class title. Okay? So this is the, maybe this can be a test and error just to find the correct selector. In this kind, we will guess that this is, in this case, we will guess that this is the correct one. So we will use just title, just to check if it works. And in this case, you saw the result and you saw that was correct. But yes, it's just testing. And if you have some error, correct it and using another selector. And for the score, this is a different selector. If you see, I have 2 points that are 2 class selectors, okay? But the selectors are together. We don't have any space like in the previous selector that we used with the ID. So in this case, let's go to the code of the boats. The boats are here. It's this number. Let's right click and inspect. Okay? Inspect element. Now I'm here. Now I am in the score tag, in the score node. If you see, we have 3 elements with the same class that it's score. If I use score as a selector to filter it, the problem is that I only need 1, not the 3 that match with that selector. So how can I distinguish between them with the other class that it has? Remember that the classes are separated by an space, okay? So in this case, we have a space that it's separating the classes. So I will use both classes to filter it. How can I use both classes? Just putting together with no space, okay? Now I'm extracting that element and I'm storing that value on a score. Remember that this variable that it's named title and the other that it's named score are nodes, okay? And these nodes have many attributes. One of the attributes is text. So in this case, we will get the text, and we will extract the text that it's containing, and we will store in this dictionary, okay? This variable will store in the index name the value of that title, in the index score the value of that node, and we are appending in a results array, okay? We have an array. In that array, we will store all the results. The last step is to print in a standard format. JSON is a standard format in which we can print that object and we can reconstruct using the opposite. In this case, it's dumps to convert to JSON, and to convert again to an object, we will use the parse one. Well, in Python, we use load. And now we are just printing the end. So if we see again the result, we have the score, and we have the name of each element. So this is a try and error just to find the correct element. Just to have it here, I will just copy the command that I used in the presentation, just to have it here. I think that it's good.
So is everybody comfortable with what just happened? So again, given that many websites do not offer an API to easily collect the data, you have to use other methods. You have to use web abstractors to collect the data. And so right now we went through how you can, given a website that maybe you want to collect data from, let's say in this case Reddit, how you can collect data from that site. Now, as we mentioned previously, it is possible for you just to download that data and then you figure out later, you create your own parsers to figure out the data that you want, or you can use these classes that Carlos from Selenium that Carlos just exposed, so that you can directly select what information you want, and also how you even want to store it. And so this is the example that we did.
I have another example that it explains how to interact using the WebDriver. Not only extract information, also interact with the page. So the next one is also located in the Sublime folder, and it's the one that says tweet.py.
So all of this, remember guys, everything is in the GitHub repository, so you can easily download, play with it, use it for your different endeavors that you might have.
So, for example, in the previous class, we saw how to write messages using a chatbot, but the problem is that that bot was reactive. We was waiting for a message from the user, and we didn't start the conversation. If you want to start the conversation, you need a web bot, okay? So this is a bot that starts a conversation. I'm using Twitter, that it's really simple to do it. Facebook is also simple, but you need to pass more time checking the selectors, okay? Twitter, it's really easy to find the selectors. So we will copy this code, and we will paste it in this in your text editor, okay? I will run it the first time just to check how it works, and then I will explain how it did it. Okay, so I'm running Python tweet.py, and it is asking for my username, okay? I have my secret email, Marilyn, gmail.com, and it is asking for my password. Why? Because I'm not using the API in this time. I will use just a scrapper. So I will type mine, okay, and message, it could say hi, and maybe it can send to my Twitter, say hi. Okay. So what it is doing, it's opening the browser, it is logging in.
Oh,
After
Carlos.
logging in, it sent the message, okay? Automatically. Okay, so now if I, oh, come on. If I see my Twitter, now I have a new notification that Merrily is saying hi, okay? So, well, let's see the code. What it is doing. The first step is we are asking for a username. Well, this is just the input that we use on Python. Just to don't reveal the passwords, I use the getPass library, and it is storing the password. Then I am asking for the message, and I am starting the Firefox in the WebDriver. Then I am opening this URL. Why I am using the mobile URL of Twitter? Because it's easier to scrap it, to use it in a crawler. Because not all the devices are so powerful. This is why companies use a light version of their user interface for mobiles. So, well, I'm going to that URL just to check how to get that selector of the username field and the password field. So it's the same. Click on that input text, right click on it, and inspect it. Okay. When we inspect it, we see that we have an ID. If you remember, guys, last time I said that if you see the ID tag, use it. It's better. So I'm just copying this selector, and you can just paste it here. If you see, you have something different here. The selector was something like this. It was session, username, or email. But I don't, well, I didn't say to you, but if you use Chrome, Firefox use a better way to provide you selectors. So we try it first on Google Chrome. Now we will try it on Firefox. So let's open Firefox. Now we have Firefox opened, and we will paste, sorry, I'm not pasting the URL. I will copy this URL, I will go to Firefox, and I will open Firefox. Okay, in Firefox we have the same option. I'm scaling other one. Okay. If I right click again and go to inspect element, now we will see that we have the same information, right? We have the same code. But if we right click, we have this option that it's copy unique selector, okay? Most of the time I use Firefox to get the selectors. Chrome is good also, but Firefox give it to you in a little bit different format. For example, if you see the selector that it copied, it has this character, and it is very important for Selenium. Selenium needs that character in order to identify it. So if you are using Selenium and you check some character that it's different than an alphabetic or numeric character, you need to use Firefox, okay? In this case, I got the selector. Remember that if you use this character on a string, you need to copy again, use both times, because it's an escape character, okay? So now we are using an escape character. This is why I am using twice. Well, so this is the way I got that selector, okay? So let's go to obtain the other selector. It's almost the same. Right click. No, I'm using Chrome. This is Firefox. Inspect element. The same. Copy unique selector. Okay.
So is everybody understanding in what stage we are doing right now? So in the first example, we use the API, the Twitter API, to generate the messages. Now we are seeing how you can actually do that, the same thing, without using the API, so that you can use a web scraper. So why would you want to do this? Well, being able to do it via these web scrapers allows you to be able to interact with different social media platforms that do not have APIs. There are many that actually do not offer them. For instance, LinkedIn is actually one of them. which does not facilitate having an API. So if you're able to use this type of technology, you could potentially use it for any type of social media platform that you may wish. And then another thing is also a lot of these platforms, they limit you. Okay, so for instance, Twitter has a quota of how many tweets you can generate using its API. This is a way in which you can get around those quotas because you're not using the API.
Mm-hmm.
So right now we are in this third example about how you can use Selenium, these web drivers, to also post tweets when you don't have the API. So we're not using the Twitter API at all here.
Okay. Well, in this case, we saw how to extract, how to get the selectors. In this case, we checked why Firefox is so useful to extract selectors. And next step is to type the username into that field. So I am finding and extracting that node with this selector. I have it here, user field. And I am sending the keys of username. Remember the username, I asked to user for the username, okay? And for password also, I asked to user for the password, and I am typing the password in that field. Next step, I am submitting the form. Remember that any value that you fill, any form that you fill must be submit. So in this case, you can use your last field, in this case the username or the password field, and you only submit it, okay? If you remember, when I run it, it displays the login screen, and then it waits until you were logged in. So I'm using just an slip. Just wait for 3 seconds, okay? The next step is that I am navigating to another page. In this case, it's a page where you type the message, okay? And it's the same. You extract the selector, okay? So, for example, if you try to find the selector here, for example, inspect element, there is also a class, but check that classes. They are very, very strange, very rare, okay? So, if we use that kind of classes, these are dynamic. Most of the time, Twitter changed that classes. So next time that you go to that page, the classes are different. This is why I am using that tag directly. I need that text area, and it's the only one that is there, okay? So if I use a dynamic class, next time it won't work, okay? So this is why I'm using just the text area. Remember in the presentation that we have this selector, that it's the tag selector, this one, that you only provide the name of the tag and that's all, right?